Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Willie and today I want to talk to you about that shiny purple stuff. Those sweet upgrades, they make your item level big and your DPS bigger. Gear. Having your character become noticeably more powerful over time is one of the key gameplay driving mechanics in the MMO genre, be it through levels, abilities or gear. BFA has taken several steps back in this regard, especially since classes have lost more than they have gained across the board. I believe this would have become far more noticeable in Legion, but the artifact weapon system combined with legendaries did a good job of expanding classes beyond the basics. Conversely, the Heart of Azeroth and Azerite armor systems have not provided enough additional gameplay mechanics to flesh classes out adequately, and we're going to see how Blizzard does with this in 8.2. I'm going to look at BFA so far in another video, but for now, let's look at the present state of gear and the effects it's having on many players. Gear is being handed out at an unprecedented rate in BFA. Considering once you hit level cap, your options for upgrades are the following, and stay with me here, there's quite a few. So we've got World Quests, Emissary, Invasions, Dungeons, Heroic and Mythic 0, Mythic Plus Weekly Cash, Azerite Armor Vendor, Warfronts, World Bosses, Raiding, the Auction House, Crafting Professions, and even Time Walking and the Time Walking Vendors. That is a lot of ways to get loot, especially when some of the open world content also scales up as you gain more gear. So this all looks great for the solo player, so many different things to do and keep you busy, so much content to eat up for the freshly leveled character. But over time it is leading to some pretty negative trends, and this isn't me trying to say the only way of getting decent gear should be through group activities, but when an emissary can give the same item level gear as a raid, I think that's a bit of an issue. Let me explain why. All of these ways of acquiring loot have led to what can only be described as a massive item level inflation. Many people are simply too geared for the content they engage with, and it's having a twofold negative effect, specifically when trying to break into group content as a solo player. So the first effect is people at the low end of the pug content, so low mythic plus, normal, BOD, etc., setting increasingly high requirements to join groups to try and mitigate failure, which can generally work at this level. And the second effect, so people at slightly higher level of the pug, so the medium end, sort of medium keys around 10 or so, or heroic bod, stepping up and they're continually failing because despite the rewards from the content that they're doing being appropriate for their item level, they do not personally have the ability to do it. And this is leading to, further frustrations and finger pointing as people by nature will often refuse to acknowledge their own shortcomings. I understand the classic counter argument of just make your own group, but a new person entering this situation can easily become assimilated into the vortex of item level above all. Imagine if you were relatively new to the Mythic Plus scene and are attempting to create your own group. All you know is you need a tank, a healer and 3 DPS, and the only factor that separates one person to the next on the Blizzard LFG UI is their item level. Until you understand more about dungeon mechanics, what different classes bring, what classes deal better with certain affixes, you're just making decisions based off how geared a player is, and that's it. And this is even before you become familiar with any meta and start to develop prejudices towards certain flavoured classes. Raider.io does go some way to solve this by displaying a main score, so you do have some evidence you're familiar with the dungeons even when on an alt, but if you're just trying to get into the scene, I think you're in for a seriously rough time. There's no basis for forming a group or giving a players a step from geared solo player to engaging with group content. Steps on gearing as a solo player are quite clear with the massive amount of loot-driven content available, but once it caps out, you can easily be drawn into this circle of apathy, as I like to call it. I've done this myself numerous times prior to joining a guild, and let me explain the steps to you and see if you can relate at all. So, step 1, become inexplicably drawn to play WoW because, you think, oh, that patch looks cool, or, I don't have anything to play at the moment, I'll give WoW a go. Step 2, start leveling or gearing a capped character. Step 3, get to level cap or continue gearing that character. Step 4, gear to the point where the rewards have started to cap out from solo player content, so world quests, emissaries, warfronts, etc. Step 5, realise in order to progress further, gear-wise, you have to do Mythic Plus or raiding. Step 6, and Step 6 is the big one, don't bother trying to join a guild or find a guild that allows you to do this content and make excuses to yourself as to why you don't do it. Step 7, try and pug and realise it is a terrible experience filled with awful players with unrealistic expectations. Step 8, get demotivated, stop playing or start this process again on a different character. And Step 9, return to Step 1. It's definitely true that both in WoW and in real life, people will opt towards someone who is overqualified for a position rather than a person who should be able to complete it. It's a simple act of mitigating risk of reducing your chance of disappointment from failure. Even with this in mind, I believe it's become more difficult than ever to join pugs in the current version of WoW. Not only is there this overgearing going on at the present, but community perception also goes a long way to hurt certain classes and specs. The information is all out there to see what classes are best, what people are taking to push their plus 20 keys that are meticulously routed with cooldowns planned and timings to hit even before they set foot in the dungeon, compared to your plus 8 where you waited 10 extra minutes to find a tank other than the Demon Hunter because they are bad LOL. And this is purely anecdotal, but even in my own experience pugging on the Elemental Shaman, which has proven to be a great class in Mythic Plus, there can be some difficulties because they were so bad for so long at the start of the expansion. It can relate to people wanting a meta comp as well for low keys where other classes or specs could easily outperform or perform as well. In some cases, metacomp, not enough mobs may be pulled to make the metacomp advantageous, or waiting for a rogue and not even using Shroud in the dungeon. It is a difficult situation, enabled by Blizzard and perpetuated by the player base, and looking ahead, I don't see a solution from Blizzard, and the player base certainly won't change. In the end, you need to break out of the pug circle and join a guild or find like-minded players, as I don't see an end in sight for the overgearing in the pug circle, at least for BFA. As always, guys, thanks very much for watching. Take care. Bye.